And what about down here? I'm amazed that they've got the doors open. At least they're strapped in, because you have to think that Russell Ingall, Will Davison and a few of those in front of him would prefer to just jump out and go at each other's throats straight up. Take a look at the Fuso start grid. You'll see Scaife alongside Rick Kelly. Mark Scaife, his 8th race win here yesterday. What about Kelly? 13 top 3 finishes this year out of the 15 races we've had. Row 2, Lowndes and Todd Kelly. Craig Lowndes, 2nd podium of the year on the back of the last race at Eastern Creek. Jamie Whincup equals his best ever race finish here. He will start from 5th, and Garth Tander from 6th. Stephen Richards in position number 7. He's starting to put together a really good run of top 10 race finishes. And Dean Canto and Jason Richards will round out the top 10. Jason qualified 10th. That's where he ended up.
Stephen Johnson was one of the unfortunate drivers to be tangled up in the incident at turn 4. Suspension damage to that car slowed it in the race. He also banged his elbow, bruised quite badly, but he's okay. A couple of other bits of information resulting from the first race yesterday. John Bowe had some contact again with Cam McConville. They've come together a couple of times this year. James Courtney, that very slow stop, and contact on several occasions with Jason Richards. For Cam McConville, the contact that he had with John Bowe resulted in him having to stop to replace a tyre. Flat tyre was the issue there. A couple of other interesting points further down the field. Paul Dumbrell, who will start from position 24 in this race, is driving with a broken finger. Painkiller wore off yesterday. It was so painful he found himself driving down the main straight, changing gear with his right hand.
Isn't it ironic that as we go down to the last 3 rows of the grid, we find the guys, aside from Jason Bargwanna, whose problem was mechanical, the guys who ended out with DNFs, courtesy, the man that they're pointing the finger at is Will Davison. So he will start from position number 30. Around him, Russell Ingall, Jason Bright, Mark Winterbottom, Greg Murphy. And the slanging match that started on lap 1 yesterday, I reckon, Neil, will continue for these 42 laps and probably the 42 after.
There's a couple of things to certainly pay attention to at both ends of the field. A little bit of other news as we look here at Will Davison with the onboard camera for the Jim Beam Racing Ford. Jason Bargwanna had some problems with the diff housing on that car, resulted in a broken tail shaft. That's the reason Bargs is mixed up with the back of the pack with all those other fellas that are involved in civil war at the moment.
Well, just how much enforcing can Russell do in this race? According to Ross Stone, none at all, because they have completely cleaned out their total spare parts inventory here inside the SBR garage between the rollover with James the other day and then, of course, the crash yesterday with Russell Ingall. They have no spares left. Barry Hay said if he breaks anything more than his watch band, we're in trouble.
Guys, beautiful weather here in Darwin today. It is 31 degrees. The track temperature at the moment is 35 degrees Celsius. And a very happy birthday to Andrew Jones, who turns 27 today. I said, what do you want? He said, mate, just some championship points would be great.
Or a small cake. Whatever comes first. Nikki is a lady who's going to be watching this very, very nervously. A nervous V8 supercar fan, a nervous Jason Bright fan. Yesterday, after qualifying, they sold the damaged bonnet to her for $250. Brighty signed it. She went to collect it last night. They said, we need to give you your money back. She said, how come? I said, well, we had a crash yesterday. We need to use the bonnet. She said, but I want it. They struck a deal. She said, how about I lend it to you? He said, it mightn't come back the same way. She said, that's okay.
I hope she leased it back to him. Thanks, Daniel. Daniel Gibson, Grant Denyer and Mark Brenner, of course, patrolling pit lane. And I'm joined by Neil Crompton. We'll take you through this second race. Fantastic conditions.
Direct sunlight on the racetrack will change its personality. And a lot of work going on when I left the circuit last night. People trying to find a sweet spot with setup. Times deteriorated. The fastest lap of the race was done by Todd Kelly, a 1:10.5. That's considerably slower than the lap record. We've really had a lot of variation in the weather. Detailed yesterday that earlier in the week it was the coldest, second coldest day on record on Wednesday. I think 65 years of monitoring the weather at the top end, and they'd never seen anything quite like it. They're all rugged up and shell-shocked in the Northern Territory.
It's freezing, freezing. They brought out the singlets.
They had cloud cover, they had some rain, they've had cold breezes from the south, but today it blazed in sunshine. It's the beautiful top-end weather that we know and love.
Keep coming, keep coming. Keep coming. More. Keep coming. Stop.
Rick Kelly bogged down off the line yesterday in race 1, gave up the lead to his brother. aborted their planned stop when Todd Kelly entered the pit lane and went out to do some hot laps. It worked for a while, but Scaife ended up grabbing the race lead, and effectively that's where it was done and won. But gee, there was some speed in both of those cars. Mark Scaife winning race 1 by some 6 seconds.
One thing to look for here also is typically on the race line, that's the right-hand side of the grid as we look at it. There should be more grip than on the left-hand side where it's more likely to be dusty.
And here comes Davison. Is he a marked man today? The second race of the Triple Crown here at Hidden Valley. Scaife is on your inside, closest to camera. Todd Kelly wants to trail him right down the guard on the left-hand side of the track.
Todd trying to make a run on the inside there on his teammate.
You're clear to come into pit lane.
Oh, and Scaife's had a little bit of contact in the rear. It's allowed Todd Kelly to sneak up the inside. Scaife got a tap and had to catch it on cold tyres. Trouble, Courtney turned around on the exit of 1, into the wall, and more huge damage for Stone Brothers Racing. What a disastrous weekend for them.
Taken out, guys. Big damage, front corner. Race is over.
One of the Super Cheap cars also, one of the Jack Daniels cars rather, involved in that as well.
Safety car has been deployed. Full course yellow SC boards displayed at all the locations.
Please, James, pull over, please, mate. There's no coolant pressure, so we'll just save the engine, please.
Shane Price.
Okay, got the replay.
So they've asked James to switch it off. Car's lost coolant pressure, so they don't want to destroy $100,000+ worth of engine.
And remember that James Courtney had a rollover in practice on Friday. Ingle yesterday with a big, big impact. And now it's happened to Stone Brothers again and Jack Daniels.
And the car that made contact with James was Stephen Johnson in the Jim Beam Racing Ford, I think.
Makes me wonder then what Stephen Johnson was doing back there.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, he started from position 11. So again, exactly the same part of the track, thereabouts, that the incident happened on lap 1, race 1. Now we've got another one, lap 1, race 2. More damage for Stone Brothers Racing to clean up here at Hidden Valley.
Pull across and stop the engine, please, mate.
Not uncommon to see incidents on that part of the track as Courtney pulls off now to protect that engine. They get very hot very quick without water cooling. A massive amount of damage. Look at that. It's the entire front of the car. The brake ducts, radiator support panel, bonnet, front right guard, it'll be front suspension, doors again, right rear, quarter panel, you know, rear bumper, looks like the rear, the boot lid, therefore the wing. And these guys were standing in a sea of panels. Grant mentioned at the top of the race that they were out of spares. I doubt whether you'll see this car for race 3.
I went down there after that incident on Friday, and they had effectively removed every single panel off that car. It's a big learning curve for Jack Daniels Racing. Shane Price also out of this race, but Jack Perkins is in 22nd position. So he'll keep punching. But there were, I reckon, 3 parts to that crash for Courtney. Touch from behind, big one into the wall, and then an unavoidable impact with the black number 7 car.
It's the peril of racing in the mid-pack, unfortunately. And often those guys that are in that mid-pack find themselves just getting monstered by all those around them.
It was an interesting start, wasn't it? And a big move there by Todd Kelly. Goes right over to the left-hand side. And for a moment there, Neil, I thought they were going to try the unthinkable and put four cars into turn 1. Sanity prevailed. Little touch ×2 for both the toll cars. Something off Scapes went flying, a mirror.
It was a Jim Beam car. Not that one.
Whoop.
Mark Runner didn't get away very well, but did get it up and running. But it was Stephen Johnson, the other Jim Beam car, that made the contact with Courtney.
The salvage operation now continues for Shane Price's car. Here it is again, so looking sort of mid-pack. Yeah. So Stephen Johnson must have missed the start there. He started from 11th, and James Courtney started from 16th.
Yes.
He's ended up behind him.
Yeah, that's for whatever reason. But I guess it's the point we were making before, Matty, that it's chaos in the mid-pack, particularly in the first braking application and through that first corner. And James must have really made a bit of ground. That's all you can say. Often what does happen is that it's a bit brave, but if you choose very early when you run down the straight, sometimes seen it done very successfully and sometimes seen disaster. If you run round the outside of everybody and you're prepared to drive in the dirty stuff where often there's almost zero grip, you can actually round up a lot of cars because nobody moves to the right in this case to protect you. And it's one time at Calder a few years ago where I know a bloke that went from about 15th to literally 2nd out the other side of the first corner because the rest of them are all asleep on the inside. But what does happen is whenever there's any contact or any other car goes sideways, you're highly vulnerable to getting a whack and being punted off the road. This was in fact on the exit of the corner, so it's a slightly different thing that we're talking about. But if we're wondering how James could make up that sort of distance, that's probably how he did it, round the outside of everybody, under brakes and through the face of the first corner.
It was a Ford sandwich yesterday where it all fell apart. If that was the case of Stephen Johnson giving James Courtney a nudge, and it's 2 Falcons at it again.
Todd Kelly's in discussion at the moment, trying to work out whether he can loosen the belts and adjust the mirror on his car from the contact that he had here with Mark Scaife. The reason that Scaife ended up sideways was that his teammate actually gave him a bit of a hand. Jamie Whincup, one of the mirrors has actually gone AWOL there. Jamie Whincup, no, correction, Craig Lowndes, I should say, was the one that was the beneficiary from all that.
And Garth Tan. WPS Chrysler safety car has control of the field at the moment. Todd Kelly, when we get the restart underway, will be the race leader. Him and Lowndes, good beneficiaries of a tangle that saw this man, James Courtney, finish his day.
Stone Brothers crew chief Barry Hay, that's probably your worst case scenario come true, isn't it, considering the days you've had?
Mate, we were joking about this last night, going, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we got a scratch or something? And we just can't seem to get our cars past that first part of the track. I don't know whether we change our track map or what we do, but it's just not working for us. So, mate, it looks all bad from what we can see in the footage there. We got no spares really to sort it, no time to do it. So we'll either not make the third race or the boys will be out the back pulling stuff off the rent car and we'll have a big go at it. But it's not looking pretty for James at all. It's a big hit.
Unlucky.
Thanks, buddy.
Rent-a-car could be called into play for Stone Brothers Racing. Did not even complete a lap before we've had trouble again. It's been that kind of weekend here. Happened yesterday, and it's happened again today. Todd Kelly, Craig Lowndes, Mark Scaife, Rick Kelly, Garth Tander will make up our top 5 when we get a restart.
Going to be a restart this lap, restart this lap.
You heard it there, restart, so the lights will come off on the Chrysler safety car.
There was another car involved in that little bit of aggravation on the exit of turn 1 down there, and it was Steve Owen in the Autobahn entry. So not impossible that it could have been Steve Owen involved in it, but certainly Steve Johnson, Steve Owen were the two that were there. We'll go racing on this lap. The lights are out on the WPS Chrysler safety car.
They snake their way through turns 8, 9 and 10. Safety car into pit lane. No overtaking yet. Now we're good to go. Battle's on again for race 2.
And you can expect to see Todd Kelly in this lap because the pit window is now open. There's been no alteration to the compulsory pit stop window because of the safety car. And Jamie Whincup running very wide down there at turn 1. Craig Lowndes was the beneficiary of the nonsense in turn 1. There was another car involved down there. We speculated that Steve Johnson was involved. Steve Owen was down there as well in the Autobahn car. One of those cars has certainly hurt James Courtney. There's more trouble at the back of the pack. This time it's Fabian Coulthard with one of the Team BOC entries. Winterbottom was in there. His heart would be in his mouth after what happened yesterday.
Question is, can we get one full, clean lap in? As Neil mentioned, compulsory pit stop window is open. Remember what happened in race 1. Scaife took advantage of it straight away and it paid dividends.
That's right, and this time Matthew Crawford, engineer for Todd Kelly, uses the opportunity for the lead position that he has. First opportunity to make the pit stop and make the call.
Mate, pit this lap, pit this
and in
lap.
he goes. He's got a few mates. Craig Lowndes now leads the race. So finally we see a 888 car with some track position. That might be critical to telling the story of the race today. Oh, that's a big overshoot.
Go.
He got away with it, I reckon, but it was a good metre pass.
Go, 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 go.
Rick Kelly
Exit's
dives
all
out
clear, mate. Exit clear.
in front. So that overshoot did cost.
Yep, you've got to be right on the spot. Remember, the concrete in there is slippery by comparison to the asphalt surface.
Simon Wills, Paul Dumbrell, Fabian Coulthard.
There was an overnight clarification. There was a bulletin as we look at the damage on the front left corner of Fabian's car. There was a clarification bulletin issued about the location of the booms in pit lane, issued to all teams.
10% throttle, then jet slide off, now on rears, watch your brakes.
Greg Murphy's come in, the car was on 6 cylinders. They played around with a plug lead and set him out. They did not make any other changes in terms of a compulsory pit stop. Because of that, expect them now to go on a long strategy.
All right, here's Mark Scaife.
Clear.
Came in behind Craig Lowndes.
He had an awkward exit, and he's behind Lowndes. The awkward exit there to get around the Jim Beam car didn't help his cause. But Lowndes has got position on Scaife. Now this will be fascinating to watch that battle unfold. Where do they emerge? Lowndes is in shape in front of Rick Kelly. Scaife moves to the far left. Todd Kelly's on the outside, and he'll go side by side with his teammate as we look at this amazing battle between Lowndes and Kelly.
I think Todd Kelly got Scaife, but
yes,
Rick Kelly couldn't get Lowndes. It's a great shot. Looking up that long main straight as they come out of pit lane. Around the big Dayglow Hidden Valley sign.
Rick having a look up the inside. Now, this is something that we've not seen in the earlier races this year. Certainly, for example, at Eastern Creek or before that Winton, where one of the 888 cars actually gets track position. Tander leads the race, by the way. Fastest lap of the race is a 1:10.5. He's got 4.4 seconds over Max Wilson, Steve Owen, John Bowe. Mark Winterbottom probably running long as Whincup peels off. Nice stop. Easy exit for him.
Let's watch where he comes out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars there. Not a lot of room to slot in either.
And Stephen Richards is in this battle too. Where's Whincup going to drop in? Look at this, a move.
He pushes Rick Kelly over and pulls into third position. Good gain by Jamie Whincup, and Todd Kelly's right on him.
Remember that Jamie's got cold rear tyres, so he doesn't quite have the stability of those that have done a lap or two on their tyres. And he covers into turn 4. He gets a whack from Kelly, who tries to take the opportunity down the inside. Richards buys in, Scapes in there as well. This is a great race.
Awesome stuff. Jamie Whincup fending off Todd Kelly.
This is the stuff that we've been hoping for. They'll have all learned a lot from yesterday's race 1. They've changed and tweaked their cars. We saw some awesome pit work there.
Well, some lightning pit stops there. Fastest so far, Jamie Whincup, 3.7 seconds. Stephen Richards, 4.8. Todd Kelly, 5.9. Craig Lowndes, 4.7. And Mark Scaife, 5.1 seconds.
Your bars, mate.
Crazy numbers, aren't they?
Just to clarify also, when you see the ticker running through the bottom of screen there, and we're noting stops that drivers have done. Sometimes, for example, as you heard Daniel talking before about Greg Murphy stopping, it doesn't necessarily mean they've done their compulsory pit stop. There is a distinction. Remember, he had the plug lead problem and 1 or 2 cylinders not functioning correctly on that car. There was an occurrence of that yesterday. So it's possible that you can see drivers doing multiple stops, even though there's only one that qualifies for the compulsory stop.
Lowndes and Rick Kelly just ahead of this battle.
Big moment there for Scaife. Did he get a little touch up, or did the car just run loose in the corner?
They peeled off in 2s in race 1. They're heading that way again.
Cleared, ready to go as soon as
So they've got a nice easy in and out. A little overshoot there also. Did you see how they had to reposition the guns to chase the hub? It's good to be the king. When you're the lead team, your exit out of pit lane is pretty straightforward.
So Lowndes comes flying down the main straight. Tander comes out. You'll see something come along. There it goes. Whooshka! And another one, his teammate. Third position for Garth Tander.
One of the 888 cars running pretty wide down there.
That was Jamie Whincup.
The pressure across these guys at the moment is amazing. And look how close they've ended up. Dealing with the early laps of the race, each playing their own strategy game and fighting tooth and nail for track position on the exit. It's track position that's everything with these compulsory pit stops. Sometimes, even if you don't necessarily have the fastest car in the racetrack, just being in front of the other guy is enough to give you the gain.
7 cars yet to pit. So Steve Owen, Mark Winterbottom, Jason Bright, Russell Ingall, Will Davison, Jason Bargwanna and Alan Gurr. You'll see on your Xbox 360 leaderboard will be our race leaders. But they're yet to pull in. When they do, this man will take over the effective race lead. The wipers are on for Rick Kelly. He must be expecting rain. It's a great race, race 2. Around turn 4. The 7 cars that are battling for this race. this line, Mark Scaife is 6th. So when all the pit stops are completed, these will be our race leaders. And look at Stephen Richards tagging on the end there.
Some of those stops I don't think are going to happen for a while, Matty, because they'll run them as long as they can. Some of those key runners that will bury.
Up if you can afford it, mate.
Campbell Little talking to Craig Lowndes, and he sees his head responding, looking down at his anti-roll bar levers, stiffening up the front of the car, trying to stabilise the car so that it doesn't eat its rear tyres quite so much. So just reducing the grip a little bit at the front of the car, trying to make a much more even spread of load. This is a tantalising prospect. This is what we've not seen in the recent past, where Lowndes has actually got himself in position. It was such a shocker for him in qualifying at Eastern Creek, and then you burn the entire first race trying to get back in the game, and then most of the second race, and then finally he was competitive in the third race.
Garth Tander was trailing his teammate by 25 points going into race 1 on the championship. It's now 33 points. Rick Kelly finishing 2nd in race 1, and Garth Tander finishing 6th. So we've got a Ford.
And now the game is tyre condition. 28 laps to go for Craig Lowndes.
Looking at the times they go across there. Just about to say we've got a Ford, Holden, Holden, Ford, Holden, Holden, Ford.
Morse code.
It's Morse code for good tight racing.
So when all the stops are done, Lowndes will lead the motor race from Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup, Todd Kelly, Mark Scaife. What a turnaround for Scaife. And it's a demonstration again of how things can change on a knife edge in this caper. Yesterday, the margin at the end of race number 1 was nearly 7 seconds. Now he finds himself with a huge battle on his hands. Massive lock, steering lock required at turn 5 in the hairpin up in the valley. Only 65 kilometres an hour there. He finds himself in the slightly hot and disturbed air in the preceding car, which is his teammate Todd Kelly.
Stephen's certainly much happier about his machine today. They had some brake issues yesterday, which was basically forcing him to run a little too deep into way too many corners, which allowed him to be swallowed up by Garth Tander. They've improved what they thought was a bit of a brake issue with the brake pads. They're back on the balance. The car is a lot stronger. They feel they're actually being held up a little bit here, so they've got more pace that they're not yet showing.
That was the voice of Stephen Richards in the background talking to Phil Keane, saying he needs a bit more rear support. So they're doing a little engineering analysis on the run for race number 3. A little bit more support might be just a bit of a tweak of the shock absorber for the next race. It was a good run yesterday from the Gary Rogers boys, notably the teammate to this man, Lee Holdsworth. Dean Canto ran very well, running up inside the top 10 with a 9th. Of course, he got a bonus after they outed Will Davison. They've had a pretty tough time in recent rounds, the Valvoline Cummins team. Like Stone Brothers Racing, they've been breaking out the credit card to deal with a bit of damage.
14th in the championship, this 24-year-old Lee Holdsworth, making his 25th V8 Supercar start. As Neil mentioned, he's copped a few whacks throughout this season, and so too has Dean Canto. Okay, Russell Ingall started right back. The rear of the grid.
There, go.
And out.
They've got the new VE model coming for Lee Holdsworth. Job's still not done because of the delays to rebuild their cars. The damage that he sustained at Winton was huge. Jack Perkins, remember his teammate was out at the end of turn 1, lap 1. So that leaves Mark Winterbottom in control of the motor race from Steve Owen and Jason Bright. Very despondent, Jason Bright, given the great speed that he's shown here over the years. And even early in the weekend, there were indications that with that leased Brad Jones Racing chassis, with his running gear in it, he was on for a decent weekend. Here's the leader, Winterbottom over Steve Owen. Not a big margin at the moment, just 1.1 seconds. Bumped into Mark and his engineer, Clinton, last night. they were pretty down in the mouth about the universe. They know that they've got a good race car. They know that luck will turn their way at some point, but when you're buried in the field, very difficult. But he's soldiering on. This gives us a great indication of what this racetrack is all about. This is the exit of turn 4. That's where the trouble happened yesterday. Launching up into the left-hand hairpin in the valley, 65 kilometres an hour. Building now on the exit. This is where Lowndes went by on the right-hand side yesterday on Todd Kelly. Little touch of the brake pedal for turn 6. Bit of oversteer, which is typical of that bit of the track. 4th gear through 7. Surface change and a big bump, and another surface change here at 8, where James Courtney rolled on Friday. Turns 9, and then the left-hand at 10 brings you on to the front straight. Very early picking up of the throttle there for Mark Winterbottom.
About T9 now. Still racing Richards. His last lap was a 10.8.
So they're monitoring their lap speed. 11.2 that lap for Winterbottom. Quick pressure check of the brake pedal to make sure that the pads are brought right up to the disc face. See him carry the brake a long way through turn 1. It was a 265 odd kilometre an hour approach then into 1. So he leads the motor race. There's 2nd and 3rd. That's Jason Bright in the Fujitsu entry. And then further behind is Will Davison, who's accepted reluctantly the job of Black Hat this weekend.
Around with a target. Steve Owen, the Autobahn Racing entry. Car number 55. Started this race in 13th position. After qualifying 21st. Jason Bright, as Neil said, came here with a great history. Of the 2nd round here.
Oof, back of the car was very light and loose then.
Think about your bike, mate.
What's the problem here? Back in the garage. So Grant's in there, you can see we'll get an update on this shortly. Steve Owen, incidentally, running around with not the best set of rear shocks in the car, which were damaged at Eastern Creek, the Autobahn entry.
Here's our 2 super cheap drivers of Cameron McConville and Paul Dumbrell pairing up. They're down in 23rd and 24th.
Yeah, the word coming from Russell's cockpit is that it's dropped not 1 cylinder but 2 at the moment. Just talking to Ross Stone, it's certainly a rough old day because they've just put paid to James's 3rd race as well. It's just something that they're not going to be able to repair. That's definite.
Stone Brothers celebrating 10 years on track a couple of weeks ago. 10 successful years in the business with the Bathurst victory, championship wins. And their former man, Marcus Ambrose, continues to do very well in NASCAR racing in North America at the moment. But wow, what a weekend for those fellas. They have to go away and consolidate. There is a margin of time now as we watch Cam McConville on the exit of turn 1 before we go to Queensland Raceway for the next event. They'll need every minute of that to consolidate. Have a listen to Cam at work here up in the valley.
Meanwhile, Craig Lowndes still has Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup on his tail, then the 2 HRT cars, Todd Kelly, Mark Scaife. There is Stephen Richards. Behind him, Jason Richards.
Late race pace is something we're used to from Triple Eight Engineering. Track position and early race pace is something we're not. If you're worried it won't last, don't be. Just come out of the Triple Eight garage. They say the way they set up their cars, it really does look after their tyres. They feel it's only going to get better, and they've got a better tyre stock than most up and down pit lane.
You want to hazard a guess at what that is?
Black Snake. It's the Northern Territory, it's possible. Well, it's not, but you just...
It's not moving.
You pitch him, I'll hit him. Mark Winterbottom leads the motor race from Steve Owen, Jason Bright, Will Davison, Alan Gurr. They're running long. They occupy the first 5 spots on the road. And then Craig Lowndes is the first driver in the queue that's done the compulsory stop. He's in command with a margin over Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup, Todd Kelly and Mark Scaife. We're on board right now with Mark.
Steve Owen's second on the list, but he's got problems. The Zinger replay coming down the main straight. Wow. Off she went. That's the rear.
So I think it's out of Jason Bright's car. Yeah, so he's lost the rubber moulding around the driver's window there that's popped out. Their Perspex, not glass, obviously.
Russell Ingall, thankfully the weather up here in Darwin is good, because that's about the only thing that's going well for you this weekend.
Well, I tell you what, the sun's shining, but not on me at the moment, I can tell you. Looks like we had a bit of an engine failure. It just started to miss like those last couple of laps. Real shame, because we were going to run really long, like we were going to be the last car to stop. So we had a good strategy. We had good tyres, obviously, because we got 3 brand new sets. Well, unfortunately because of yesterday's accident. And we were in good shape, you know. We were picking up spots, we were halfway there. And, mate, I reckon might have surprised a few. We had good pace.
Well, the mark of a champion is how you rise from these bad times. How are the spirits in this garage? Because it's been a wobbly few days.
Well, yeah, with James going upside down on Friday, mine yesterday, James hit the fence today. I'll tell you one thing, we're running out of panels pretty fast.
Hard luck.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
They've still got their patience.
Mark Winterbottom's in the pit lane now, leaving Will Davison in control of the race. Here he is. And a move there as we were talking to Russell. Mark Scaife sneaking by Todd Kelly. See once again the overshoot, making the guys having to reposition the gun.
Okay, CPS light off.
He has made a lot of ground here. A lot of ground. This is a good comeback.
Pops in behind Jason Richards and in front of Stephen Johnson.
This sets up a decent recovery for race 3. Good job for Winterbottom and Ford Performance Racing.
Puts him in the top 10. He started so far back. And that's what Russell Ingall was alluding to there. He was going to go deep into the pit window. It's worked for Mark Winterbottom. He can now reconstruct a salvage operation on the weekend, this weekend in terms of points, because he missed out in race 1 after qualifying 7th.
The gap fluctuates between Lowndes and Kelly, 3rd and 4th. 13.6 seconds is the margin, Will Davison to Alan Gurr, and it takes about 35 seconds to come in, process your stop and get out again.
Boys, Jason Wright in the pits once again. Misfire for that team too.
Lowndes lets it loose. Rick Kelly follows. So Davison and Gurr, the only 2 drivers yet to pit. Rick Kelly has currently 4th position next to his name. And when they're all completed, he'll be 2nd. You're on board with his teammate Garth Tander. Such an amazing purple patch, Neil, didn't he? Or he just had that extraordinary run. WA, New Zealand, Winton. He had 3 race wins, 2 race wins, another 2 race wins.
But their strength has been dropping the cars off the truck for day 1 practice and not having to do an awful lot to tune them to the road. So their analysis of what they require before they get to the track seems to have been very strong. And they've made early season gains on everybody. You look at the lap speed of the lead cars at the moment, and there's just absolutely nothing in it.
Well, here's Jason Richards against Stephen Richards down at turn 1.
He actually ran over that little bit of rubber strip down there, and Jason has a look up the inside. Stephen running a little wide. That was his issue yesterday. Remember, we heard him on the radio earlier calling for a little bit more rear support in the car. Jason's definitely got some pace. Oh, there's room left by Stephen, but it's not enough for Jay Richards to get the job done.
Stephen making his 132nd championship start this weekend. puts him above another Jay Richards, that of Jim.
There's an issue somewhere around the racetrack at the moment because I think that they may deploy the safety car for the debris down at turn 1. Yes, we've gone full course yellow. There it is. So after seeing a car hit it, the race director has decided that that needs rectification. So the whole course has been brought under the control of the yellow flag.
So Lowndes couldn't shake Rick Kelly off his tail. That was the incident. The blowout Perspex window and then the race tape.
It's probably a bit of rubber.
Yeah, the rubber that was
seal
left
or
there.
something.
They went quite a few laps there without touching it, but then it was highlighted by that move, that look from Jason Richards against Stephen Richards. It means Will Davison, the only one who hasn't pitted, when the safety car comes out, the field will compress, and Craig Lowndes will have Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup, Mark Scaife and Co to deal with.
Craig, that safety car's moved onto the track now. He'll pick you up.
Okay.
So normal logic dictates that
you're happy with the car with the bars?
you always stop when a safety car is deployed in this situation.
Okay, get in gear, on the limiter. Get them spinning, mate, get the wheels spinning. Okay, go. Okay, mate.
Must have a clutch drama.
What's that all about, guys? What was happening then? So you get past the line. Come on, mate. Okay, mate. All right, well done. Safety car.
Will was at a loss there to...
What on earth happened then?
He still is.
Well, the car was left suspended in the air. They'd already done the stops. So
We're just trying to make sure, just trying to get you off as quick as you can as we could, mate. Yeah, but I was fine. What was I waiting there for?
It's Will talking to his chief engineer, Scott Sinclair, and he's hot under the collar about it. Puts him out in 12th spot.
result of seeing the
under safety car conditions, Will Davison stuck in pit lane. And he's still trying to find out off his team exactly what happened there.
Looks like Jason Richards peeling off as well in behind the Chrysler safety car. So Lowndes leads them away. The field's compressed. What does this all mean?
It means that we've got ourselves a pretty good stoush at the front. Lowndes, Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup, Mark Scaife, Todd Kelly, Stephen Richards, Jason Richards in there. And wide goes Bargwanna.
It was looking like a sizable comeback by Will Davison, starting for rear of field whilst leading the race coming in. The problem was he had actually a clutch failure, which happened off the start line. So while the car was in the air, he tried to engage the gear and hit the deck running with the rear wheel spinning, but he stalled it, which lost a couple of precious seconds, which has dropped him down a few extra positions than they wanted to be.
Yeah, he rejoined the race in 13th position. I can tell you he was asking constantly what was going on. That
was Murphy that came in, obviously, when we saw the Tasman Motorsport Air North entry peel off at the head of the field. Jason Richards is still intact out there. He's in position 8. Not a great weekend for Murph. Lowndes just holding his gap. Check it. Across the line. Half a second. So he just eased away a little then from Rick.
from lap 29 of 42.
Oh, a little mistake there from Lowndes. Doesn't take much to lose your advantage, and he dropped the right rear off on the exit of 1. That'll give Rick Kelly plenty of incentive.
Greg Murphy, that is frustrating.
You know, it's bad enough that you're nearly already down a lap and then they just go and make sure you are. So it's, I don't know what goes on up in that tower sometimes. They've ruined plenty of races before, and, you know, not that ours really mattered, I suppose. There's no point in continuing when they put you down a lap. So
just to clarify that, the safety car, you believe, picked up the wrong car.
Well, I don't know if they were watching the TV, but I was already well out of it by that stage and made 2 stops. So I don't know why I'd be picked up. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, it's clearly obvious to everybody at this place. Obviously not obvious to the people that make the decisions.
Thanks, Matt.
I haven't got a grasp of it, in all honesty, but because we've been focusing so much on the leaders, but Greg feels pretty strongly about it, and more damage here. Someone's left bits and pieces on the road down there. Don't know who that belongs to.
Strange things are happening in this race. There's a certain weirdness about this one. So Craig Lowndes, Rick Kelly, Garth Tanner, Jamie Whincup, and then we find Mark Scaife in 5th position. Winner of our last round at Eastern Creek, an emotional victory. Winner of 2 rounds here. He shares that honour for the most wins with his teammate Todd Kelly and former champion Marcus Ambrose.
Fastest lap of the race so far, Garth Tanner, a 1:10.5. It's the same speed that we saw yesterday from Todd Kelly.
Great job, mate. Have a breathe, have a drink.
Check it on this lap, it was 0.6 seconds the difference. Now it's almost 0.8.
Lowndes is the fastest man on the road at the moment. He did a 1:11.7 on that lap. That is a great recovery from Winterbottom in 9th. Looking down through the order, Max Wilson, John Bowe, Lee Holdsworth, Jason Bargwana. They're down around 16, 17, 18, these guys. So Lowndes has got speed on everyone there at the moment, as the 2 Richards do battle for 7th and 8th. This is Winterbottom 9th. Right on the back of his teammate. How's that for a recovery from the back of the field?
There's Stephen Johnson and Will Davison. So good recovery also for young Will. Mark Winterbottom has rounded up Jason Richards, which relieves the pressure.
12 laps to go. Richo knows you've got fresh tyres.
Relieves the pressure that Stephen was under fire from Tasman Motorsport car, as you just heard.
Winterbottom will get his teammates because obviously with the younger rear tyres, and here he goes down the inside down there under brakes at turn 1, so through he goes. So Winterbottom will make another spot. He's up now to 7th. Could in fact make a bit more ground after that, because he'll definitely have better tyre condition than those around him. So next in the queue for him is Todd Kelly. This has been a great strategy play. The only way you can really do that is with car speed. I mean, strategy is certainly part of it, but he's got good car speed, and that's what's giving him the option here to be able to have a nudge at people. And Todd Kelly now has to worry about it. He's a bit disturbed by the sudden presence of the FPR car, because he is going to have a lash at him. Here they are up at 7 and 8. Drive off these corners is critical, and the drive that Mark Winterbottom will get off the final corner here will give him another couple of kilometres an hour when they get to the end of the straight.
Good work, Frosty. Just try and get a little bit of fresh air when you can to the engine.
They don't want elevated water temperatures. Have a look down here under brakes. He's going to get him. In fact, he was even on the rev limiter briefly then, which means he's spot on 268 kilometres an hour with that diff ratio in the car.
Now he's up to 6th. At leaves Todd Kelly in 7th.
You know what's amazing there, Matty? That's a graphic description that corner exit speed is critical. He would have had his foot on the throttle just a whisker early. He would have got to 100% that fraction earlier. You don't see it in the early part of the straight, but it manifests itself down the other end by 1 or 2, maybe 3 kilometres an hour, and it's all you need.
Jason Richards is under assault here as well. Stephen Johnson's behind him. Will Davison has got in front of him, I believe. So the order is Craig Lowndes, Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup, Mark Scaife, Mark Winterbottom, then Todd Kelly.
I think Richo's a bit vulnerable at the moment. He's backing them up a little because his car's struggling. So what it's doing is creating a little bit of pressure down through the order.
Yeah, and he's dropped back to 10th. Jason Richards.
Scaife's looking a bit hungry there too on the back of Whincup. On board here with Will Davison. He's in 9th, battling with Richo. There you go, there's the evidence. The rear of Stephen's car's just loose. He makes a slow corner exit. Watch for Davison up the inside. This is what got him in trouble yesterday.
Is he game to do it again and go there this time? He is. Around turn 4.
He got it done. Car 33's got the bad sportsmanship flag as well.
Davison collects 8th position.
So he's been deemed to be blocking. So Lee Holdsworth's going to have to keep an eye on that, or he'll get a black flag if he doesn't open up a bit more space. But it's a big march here by Will Davison and Mark Winterbottom. And they have recovered unbelievably well from difficult circumstances. Stephen
Richards would have finally thought he shook off Jason.
Go. You're up to position 8. You're doing a real good job. Keep at it, mate.
This is going to get interesting in the last laps because they're now struggling at the rear end of this race with very little in the way of grip. Lowndes did an 11.7, Rick Kelly at 12.2, Tander at 12 even, Whincup at 12 even, Scaife 12 even, but Winterbottom did an 11.5. So he's going to buy into this in a big way, and he'll scatter this pack on current form.
Extraordinary move through the field. Meanwhile, the two Team Vodafone 888 cars bookend Rick Kelly and Garth Tander.
When you race where Jamie Whincup's racing at the moment, it's very difficult because you've got your own car to manage. You need to keep one eye out for the car in front, one eye out for the car behind. All the time your brake temperatures elevate, your water temperature elevates, your car gets harder to drive. It's hard to find your braking markers.
Not to mention that, he has to think about the one behind him, which is Mark Winterbottom.
Great driving. Nice and smooth. Keep it up, mate.
Suck up some clean air down the main straight.
Lowndes is laughing, but the rest of them have got a lot of work to do. Scaife on Whincup, trying for the early turn in, trying to sneak under and give himself track position.
It's a good lead for Craig Lowndes in race 2. 1.2 seconds he has over Rick Kelly, but Mark Winterbottom is 6th and moving. Garth Tander, Jamie Whincup and Scaife. And the result of these three pushing and shoving each other could be another benefit for the Orcon Ford Credit FPR car of Mark Winterbottom.
Look how hungry he is, Matty. Just talking to the team, the spirits are certainly lifted after yesterday. Of course, the contact with Will Davison. This is the speed that they had yesterday, but just weren't able to show it. Why is he so fast and looking so racy now? Of course, he did stay out so late. He's got tyres that are almost 20 laps fresher than everybody else's, and he's going to push forward.
And this is what we've been hoping to see for a number of rounds. We saw evidence of it in race 3 at Eastern Creek. There's been a little bit of recent howling here and there that maybe there's a parity issue between the cars, but what we've not been seeing is the best from the Ford teams. They've still had a difficult weekend this weekend by comparison to the Toll HSV and the Holden Racing Team cars, but now with track position for Lowndes, we're seeing that there's such a tiny margin between these cars, it's almost impossible to measure. And a tremendous recovery from Winterbottom. And with a little bit of rubber on his side, he's right in this mix.
If he pushes himself just one more position forward, Mark Winterbottom, it'll be his best race finish since the first race in New Zealand, round 3. Had a couple of lean rounds, although Eastern Creek was okay, 29 points in the bag. He's 11th on the championship.
Watch for Winterbottom down the front straight here. It's that little bonus corner exit speed that helps him. He's in behind Skate.
5 to go, Jamie, 5 to go.
Don't know that he's close enough at the moment.
Lowndes maintains his lead, 1.1 seconds over Rick Kelly.
The other thing that happens is that inverted commas new tyre benefit, and they're not new tyres that he's using, but the fresher tyre benefit probably only exists for a few laps. You get a little peak gain for a while, and then they kind of normalise like those around you. So he struck early, made gain, but trying to get the cars around him now certainly becomes a harder task. On this racetrack, on a hot day like this one, the back end of a race, you really start to battle with rear grip, and you've got to be very gentle on your throttle.
Dick Johnson, you must be happy with Will's effort.
Well, so far he's done an extraordinary job, really, starting from the back of the grip, and he's up to about 7th or so. But I think our cars just get stronger as the race goes on. It's pity it's not a lot longer, actually.
You reckon the criticisms fired him up a bit?
Oh, probably fired him up, but, you know, like he said, he said he can't take much notice of all those old geriatrics, probably me.
He's seen it all before, heard it all before. Lowndes leads 1.1 seconds from Rick Kelly. Almost identical lap speed. 12.0 for Craig, 12.1 for Rick, 11.9 Garth Tander, 11.9 Jamie Whincup, 12.1 Mark Scaife, 12.2 Mark Winterbottom, 11.7 Will Davison. So he's gaining on this group. He's fired up. And remember that it was the fellow in front of him that he tripped over yesterday in race 1 and triggered all this aggravation.
A glimpse before of those who are around the points. Max Wilson is currently in 15th position. Paul Morris is 14th. Dean Canto 13th. Steve Owen 12th. So they're all amongst the points. Look at the speed that Davison has over the last 4 laps in terms of lap time against the man in front of him.
It's one of the things that's widely misunderstood is that often in fans' eyes we see the battle along brand lines. It's Ford versus Holden. Within teams, they're very much individual operations. Don't for a minute, as we look at think that DJR are any less hungry to bowl over Ford Performance Racing. In fact, very often within your own ranks, it's more competitive and more aggressive.
Will's partner Rihanna looking on as Lowndes keeps that 1.1 second lead. 32 degrees out there, a whole lot warmer inside the cockpit. Coming towards the end of the 42 laps.
Now that Will's on the back of this train, his speed has dropped off to the same as those around him, 12.2 on the last lap.
Oh, tight, so tight. Push and shove for Whincup against Tander.
Yeah, just a little bit of niggle there. It tends to happen at the hairpin. It's easy to do. 1.1 seconds for Lowndes. He looks solid, doesn't he? He's got a little margin over everybody. Unless he makes a mistake, I don't think he's too vulnerable. But back here, it's interesting. 3rd and 4th we're looking at. We're with Garth Tander 3rd. Winterbottom's right there.
So at the moment, we've got the 2 Toll HSV cars on the podium. And Jamie Whincup's trying to make it, strike that and make it 2 888 cars. Just waiting to pounce ever so patiently is Mark Scaife. There he is.
It's so tight, isn't it? You see Mark just trying to find a way by, turning in a bit earlier, fell a little higher in the mid-corner. They're all trying everything. They're absolutely grip limited at the moment. There's nothing left in these cars. Under brakes, in the middle of the corner, on the throttle on exit. They're maxed out in every direction. so patient. You know, Mark tried to hit that throttle any harder. He'd end up with the car skating out from beneath him. This is Winterbottom looking now at the back of Mark Scaife.
Makes you wonder how they ask these drivers and the cars to come back and do it again.
1 to go.
Just check out Lowndes' gap. It was 1.1, it's now 1.3. There's Kelly in second, Tander third, Jamie Whincup fourth, Scaife fifth, Winterbottom is sixth, Will Davison is seventh. Further down the road, Todd Kelly is eighth. Stephen Richards is ninth and Stephen Johnson 10th. This is it. Last chance in race 2 to grab another spot, grab some more points. The way that Craig Lowndes is holding on to that 1.3 second lead, he's going to finish this race on 41 points for the round. With one more race still to come this afternoon. It's been a good performance from all of those in the top 10 right across the field. Those at the back who pushed through, courtesy of good strategy, but Craig Lowndes gets another race win at the Valley.
How good was that? Yeah, it only took half a year though.
Third race win at this track, and an important one. As you heard him say, it took a while, but they got there.
And he becomes the 6th race winner this year, 16 races down in 37. So now that Craig's got this win, he's on the board.
He had that track position, finally, and made full use of it.
They just give those tyres a bit of scrub up and stay on the clean stuff. Why don't you use some of them?
Download instructions from Campbell Little. Mark Scaife posts another top 5 effort. Mark Winterbottom, hard work today in that race, and good work, good teamwork too. He goes top 10, and Garth Tander finishes third. And not only a huge sigh of relief for Will Davison, but also a job well done. From the very rear of the grid, Davison puts himself in 7th position. Let's run them through for you. Craig Lowndes, the winner of race 2 provisionally. Rick Kelly second and Tander third. So the two teammates fill the race podium there. Whincup, Scaife, Winterbottom. We already mentioned those two guys, Winterbottom and Davison, really showing their muscle today. Jason Richards down to Max Wilson finishing in the points. Wilson started in 8th but held on to finish in 15th position. John Bowe misses out on the points by just the 1 position, and Jason Bargwanna there in 17th. 20th, Cameron McConville, Simon Wills, Paul Dumbrell, Fabian Coulthard, Jack Perkins, and Andrew Jones, all those who finished. The ones who didn't, Murphy, Bright, Ingle, Courtney, and Shane Price. One more race to go to finish off the Triple Crown here at Hidden Valley.